start off by thanking Weber State and Autoliv for having us here today. We are Powder Mountain, and I am Jessica.
I'm Leah.
I'm Bea.
I'm Elliot.
So today we're going to be going over our problem and then our solution, followed by our backup data with qualitative and quantitative analysis, and then our recommendation for Autoliv. So at this moment, Autoliv currently ships to their cross-dock Nissan's freight. Then that freight will go for the seat cushions to Nissan's first-tier suppliers, and then directly Nissan comes and picks up their shipment to take to Smyrna and Canton a couple hours from that cross-dock in Olive Branch. Nissan would like to reduce those costs, and in order to do so, we've discovered that if you do ship directly from Ogden to those two Nissan locations, you can cut costs. In order to do that, the question is, should Nissan take over the ownership, or should Autoliv have to take on that responsibility? We think that Autoliv should suggest to Nissan that it would be a win-win situation if Nissan were to take over that ownership, and we'll provide our reasoning through our qualitative and quantitative analysis. So we will now start with our qualitative analysis.
We did a SWOT analysis on Autoliv and current strengths, weaknesses, threats, and opportunity. We identified that Autoliv is in a great position right now in the marketplace because there's very limited competition, and being a largest auto safety suppliers, and companies have a low defect rates, as well as very much focused on continued improvements, Kaizen approach. That put Autoliv in extreme competitive advantage. We also identify that some of the weakness for Autoliv. However, their weaknesses it also presents an opportunity as well. For example, at this time that Autoliv operating at near full capacity, but because of the overspill from the competitors' frequency, that present for Autoliv that the opportunity to gain a tremendous market share. But that being said, those opportunities also present a threat for Autoliv, because if Autoliv does not expand their operation, it might be a possibility that it's unable to meet the demands. Further, we also did some analysis on the risk for both scenarios. If Nissan take over the ownership for the managing logistics, or Autoliv continues managing the logistics. In case that Nissan taking over the managing the logistics, obviously that Nissan going to face a few of the risks. One of which is pretty big, is the upfront capital investment. That going to be a big problem, and also because of it's the long haul truckload that make it a little bit more difficult in managing stock, safety stock, and then the lead time variability. And in addition to that, obviously that it's managing long hauls truckload would also add somewhat of the complexity into the equation as well. Now, in case that Autoliv managing the logistics, they are going to face continuous problem with its returning missing tow from a customer. Seems that they have that problem right now. And then either way, either Nissan or Autoliv managing logistics, both companies will continue facing the problem with damaging inventory in transit, and also the large inventory due to large truck due to bad weather during the winter month because of the location, the current location for Autoliv right now. One more problem that Autoliv would have to face if they continue managing logistics is the disrupt of the supply chain, because the Nissan wants the supply to ship directly without going through the distribution center. That would require the Autoliv to reroute or reorganize the logistic plans. So Jessica will present a little bit more on the loops analysis.
Yeah, so we started our quantitative analysis with just taking a look at the total loop time. And as you can see, the current one is 17 days. With both of these options that we had, either if Autoliv takes over or if Nissan does, it still comes down to 8 days. As you can see, if Nissan takes over ownership, that 4 days go to Autoliv and 4 days go to Nissan. Like we said before, creating a better win-win situation for each partner. Now, Aaliyah is going to continue with the quantitative analysis.
Yes, so to start off, we did some cost summary, and the annual freight cost was calculated with the given numbers, and the truck cost that we took was the $49.50 rate. And based on that, we just approximated that, assuming it's the similar 3PL company, that the price per mile would be about $160 per mile. And that's how we got the new truck cost for the direct shipment from the BDO, which is in Ogden, directly to Smyrna and Canton. So as you can see, with the projected volumes for 2018 that are right there, savings would be roughly $1.5 million, and the savings would be mainly on skipping the handling cost at the MPS location, which we thought was the exact negative gold that Nissan was looking to cut out of the logistics process at that point. And this is for both situations. So the annual freight cost for the direct shipment from Ogden would only be about $4.8 million, which would result in savings of roughly 27% compared to the current situation. The next thing that we looked at was the net present value comparison on the savings that would be presented to Nissan in terms of costs for the two situations. If Nissan takes over and if Autoliv ships directly from Ogden, but if they take the risk of shipping it. Now we based it on these annual savings were based on consideration of 4% annual growth rate on passive safety category demand. So as we can see, both of the options are profitable. We decided that it was a good idea, definitely, to start shipping it directly to Ogden and from Ogden to their distribution centers. And now the question really came down to who takes the risk. And our main focus was to create a win-win situation where Autoliv benefits from taking off a huge chunk of the risk off their plate and transferring it over to Nissan, and keeping Nissan happy as the one-time investment would last for 4 years. The investment is for the containers that they would have to own in order to distribute it from Ogden to the long-haul containers to distribute it from Ogden to their distribution centers in Smyrna and Canton. Also, is evaluating the risks. That was this chart over here was the main reasoning in combination with the risks assigned why we chose Nissan to take it over. Because as we said earlier, our main goal is for Autoliv to also be benefited from the situation. And now Dalvir is going to talk more about our final recommendation based on everything we presented right now.
So, as they mentioned earlier, it's been mentioned multiple times, at the end of the day, we wanted to create a lasting partnership between Autoliv and Nissan because Nissan is such a big customer for them. And as you can see, we do think that Nissan should take ownership, pick up their shipments in Ogden, and then transport them to Camden and Smyrna from there. The reasoning behind this was mainly cost saved, right? For Nissan, they'd be saving about $3 million a year over the course of, or $3 million over the course of 3 years. And for just shipment purposes, right? They're reducing their touches, so they get to control who's touching their shipments in terms of damage and things like that. Autoliv is reducing their risk. Their contract is in breach. So another thing is we're still utilizing the Olive Branch facility because of the 4 years left on the contract. And then just at the end of the day, it's a win-win situation for both, right? So you're eliminating risk and you're also saving money for Nissan. So the next thing we decided was we would recommend relocating. If we were to start from a clean slate, let's say, right? We decided that Louisville, Kentucky might be a good location because it's kind of a large automotive industry. It's upcoming, it's growing. And at the same time, it's easy for them to get up to speed, right? They have a lot of quality employees. Getting a new facility set up isn't the easiest thing, so they would be able to ramp up pace real fast. And just between all their other distribution centers, it's a good location to expedite their shipping and just make sure that things get there on time. And at the end of the day, Louisville is kind of the heart of innovation right now in terms of the automobile industry, so it would really help Autoliv in terms of their kind of vision and where they're headed. And with that being said, we thank you guys, and we want to open the floor for any questions.
First, thank you for that. My first question would be your recommendations to come out of the crossdock and have Nissan pick up directly from the Ogden facility, correct? That's right. Okay. Did you guys take into consideration what the potential impact would be to that crossdock in terms of lost volume going through that facility?
Yes, definitely. We've looked into that and we have ensured that the seat airbags would still be going through that. And it would reduce the number of trucks per day, but it would definitely be utilized in order to reach the first tier seat manufacturers. And there are other customers too.
And if you reduce, if you keep the seat tags at that crossdock facility, then how does that affect your financial numbers relative to the remaining that is going direct to the two Nissan plants?
Well, the numbers we gave wouldn't change because we did not consider the seat airbags into our calculation as we decided from the very beginning that we wouldn't interrupt that flow.
And how does that change impact the remainder of your customers that are satisfied through the crossdock? Making those volume changes in the number of units moving to that crossdock is going to have a negative impact on some of those accounts, I would imagine.
We did not look into that. We saw that there were several companies that they were moving through that crossdock still, so we figured that they'd still be able to be mixed truckloads moving forward with
I
that.
thought there would still be like enough volume going through that with other customers as well, minus the one like the seats and stuff, so that's kind of where the risks and stuff. So.
I believe we averaged that it would still be 12 trucks just for those seats per week going through there.
Yes.
And there was previously 26.
So you also made an assumption that by Nissan taking over the transportation, Autoliv wouldn't have the risk of losing totes or packaging at their facility, right? Or through that life cycle of the inventory moving back and forth?
Because Autoliv would be, or Nissan would be purchasing their own totes,
Yes.
which is that large initial investment.
Do you believe that they would be able to retain their own totes at that point in time, or they would not have any loss?
I'm sure that they will lose totes.
Okay.
I think that it would be silly to think that they wouldn't. I know that Autoliv is moving forward with RFID, and that would be something that maybe you could suggest to Nissan to keep track of those things, sharing the innovation that Autoliv has found. If they are losing totes, then it would be a good idea to move forward with a similar implementation.
That way, you're not wasting time kind of communicating with people like people wasting toes. And you know where they're at, you can figure it out, or you can, just focus on what's important in terms of your business, right?
At the end of the presentation, you made a recommendation for a move to Louisville. Is that a crosstalk move to Louisville? Is that-
Yeah.
So you're,
No,
You mean the crosstalk moving to
well,
Louisville?
No,
you mentioned a
facility.
move to, you mentioned something moving to.
Oh, no, not the crosstalk. We said like, in terms of assembly, like manufacturing.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
That's
sorry.
like a general
Yeah,
recommendation.
just a general recommendation, just kind of if we were starting from a clean slate.
Okay, so either move from Ogden to Louisville or create an additional facility for manufacturing.
Yeah, you could create an additional as well.
Because it's a clustered, it's gonna have a cluster effect, so they would develop much faster among those people who are there doing pretty much the similar thing.
It's already a large manufacturing state for the automotive industry, so we thought, if we're opening a new facility there, the employees are already there, you're gonna have people that want to train as easily, it'll be easier to get up to speed.
So you're talking an Autoliv airbag facility in Louisville, Kentucky. Did you take into consideration the supply base for the airbags and where they're coming from, and the transportation costs that would be associated with that?
Yes.
I guess the reasoning behind that is there would still be transportation costs from all the sub-suppliers that are still located in Utah going to Louisville. So, and then there's brick and mortar for a facility, capital costs.
That was more of our approach for, if we were to start from a clean slate, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Can you go back to your slide on the loop times for the packaging? Just had a couple questions there.
That one?
Yeah, so if we're looking at the Autoliv direct delivery, we have number of days allocated for AOA BDO, in transit, to and fro, and then the Autoliv total, and then there's nothing at Nissan.
correct.
Now, is that with the idea that it just goes to Nissan, they hurry and dump it out and send it back same
Well,
day?
we were eliminating the cross-dock. Autoliv would be just taking care of their truck, would unload it there, and then their truck would have to return back.
Right.
So I guess I did not factor in the unloading at Nissan by Nissan employees.
Nissan's gonna have to have some type of inventory in-house, so there's gonna be some type of total for that, for Nissan to have
On that end.
on that.
Okay.
And since the transit time, I mean, when we look at the current situation, so the time of 17 days, you're assuming that, you need to assume that Nissan is going to be taking the inventory and safety stock at a much higher rate, right?
Yeah, the 17 days was given, that's the current situation.
And 7 was the maximum of the allowance that Nissan could do. They say that they pick it up from the cross-dock within 7 days, but it could be within hours or within days.
Right. So if we're looking at that total loop of 17 days,
Mhm.
and the only thing that we had changed was the ship point. That shows a 9-day reduction in our packaging, right? Not either one of your scenarios, but the only thing that's changed is your pickup point.
I thought that the 7 had come from how many days a week Nissan was going to pick up, because they picked up 7 days out of the week.
Okay. So, all right.
That is a handling time is it all, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then where are your carrying cost savings, where do you demonstrate your carrying cost savings for Autoliv relative to the increased carrying costs for that safety stock for Nissan?
We were more focused on Nissan fulfillment costs at this moment because most of it was billed to Nissan as part of the fulfillment. And we were not, I think that was more of our perspective, like more leaning towards what Nissan would have to do because we're going to the, like hypothetically, we're giving the suggestion for a conference that they have to present to Nissan. So we took it as an opportunity to demonstrate to Nissan how it would be profitable for them mostly.
So that additional capital investment on Nissan's part, where is that shown?
It's shown in the net present value and annual savings.
Okay.
And we also included it under, the part under it shows how we got the numbers on the initial investment. It's under, no, it's not, it's a handout. Yeah, it's the second to last, table. And we were given that they would need to purchase 20 days worth of the containers, and that's how we got the numbers of the investment, the upfront investment.
So if your judge panel was Nissan, okay, so you gave us a presentation and the judge panel was Autoliv, right? So pretend we're Nissan now. And you're giving us that presentation. How do you sell with the data that you have? How do you sell Nissan that this is the right thing to do?
The NPV is definitely a great factor in this. And we can definitely see that the NPV for the case when Nissan takes over is still over $2 million. So it saves them the lead time. It saves them on lead time. It saves them on freight costs because it's shipped directly, and they have the control over the flow that they need their inventory in.
We would also sell it to Nissan based on the fact that through our analysis that Nissan have been increasing its sale 10%.
Yes,
This
right now
10%,
the market share is 10% in the United States.
For last,
Yes, so in 2016 it was 9.8, and it's been steadily increasing, and as of today, per Wall Street Journal, it's at 10.7%. So they've been increasing, and they will have the capacity that they need. They will have the demand that they need to fulfill.
so even though with the initial investment in the long run, it would beneficial to them to have that control of the lead time of the inventory, of the safety stock, and the logistic flows. And then it's additional to that, that's the fact that if Nissan having insist on Autoliv to provide them the solution that is shipped direct to them instead of go through the distribution center.
I think to add on to that also, it said that all truck, any touches costing a lot of money. So in terms of that, Nissan's able to control how many touches are happening. They're able to control how their shipments are going to their facilities. So that also helps them stay cost.
All right, that's the time we have for questions.